So Holly Levin is here for BroncoFit here at Boise State. And prior to being at Boise State, she got her Master's of Public Health from the Ohio State University.
I don't say the B.
You don't say the B? It's capitalized here though.
It's a
So. Maybe you did that. So, okay, well, in any case. And also a Cooper-trained health coach as well as a Master's Certified Health Education Specialist. And so she's been focusing here mainly on coordinating employee wellness programs and peer health education programs here at Boise State. So I think she's well versed in handling the population and talking about the ideas around stress management that we're here to talk about. So Holly, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Cool. Well, welcome. So let me get an idea of who's, like, what year are you in school? Are y'all kind of all over the place, or are we all in the same year of school?
Freshman?
Freshman.
Yeah. Sophomore? Okay.
Juniors. Okay, so
Okay.
got a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
I just wanted to see. But thanks for coming. So stress management is a hot topic these days, right? So I do a lot of stress management techniques and presentations for employees on campus too. So it's not just you, not just students. So everybody's kind of feeling that, right? And it's literally mid-October, which we say in our world is like, this is the peak. Like, you're at midterms, you're like, it's hitting hard, right? It's actually true in our, so we're in the same building as our medical and counseling services, and this is when the busiest time of year for our counselors. So it really is like peak time for these kinds of things to settle in. And so the end of the spectrum that I'm on is kind of managing stress, preventing us from getting to maybe a point where we need to see a medical provider or a counseling provider. So I'm kind of on this upstream public health prevention approach where we have these stressors come into our life. The goal for today is for you to build a little toolbox for yourself of things that you can use, because stress isn't going to go away, right? It just comes in different forms as our life goes on. And so what do you have in your back pocket that helps you manage those times? So we're going to look at that today a little bit, and everybody's different. So to start out, just for fun, go ahead and just yell out to me ways that you manage your stress. There's no right or wrongs here. So it can be funny, it can be serious. How do you manage your stress? Go ahead.
Don't just repress it.
Repress it, okay? Keep going,
Exercise.
okay? Go ahead, I'll just write. Keep going.
Listen to music.
Music, that's a good one.
Sleep.
Sleep. Eat. Sleep. Keep going.
Hobbies.
Yeah.
Cry.
I was waiting for it. Somebody always says it. Somebody always says it. Nobody said Netflix yet? Anybody
Netflix
know?
binging.
Okay.
Vegging out.
Yeah.
How about anxiety attacks?
Yeah. These are real things, so they can be,
I'm going to say drink,
yeah.
not just water.
Yeah. Whatever
Arguing.
you might be in the mood for.
Arguing.
Arguing.
Right.
Dancing.
I guess I call it exercise.
Yeah.
Creative exercise.
What about pets? Does that help anybody with their stress? Dogs, cats?
I think mine make me stress.
My dog's not that. Somebody usually says shopping, and shopping stresses me out. So that's not how I manage stress at all. Does anyone like to go shopping?
Internet shopping, a lot of people
Internet
do that.
shopping? We'll just go shopping. Anything else?
Walks.
Walks? That's a great one.
being outdoors.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say being in nature of some sort.
You guys don't manage stress. I hear all the adults talking.
Yeah, somebody else.
Are we more stressful than you guys?
Do you like, I don't know, make your favorite, do you like have a favorite restaurant you go to when you're like having a rough day? Or do you have a favorite food that you eat or something that makes you feel comfortable?
Do you hang out with friends?
Sweatpants,
Yeah, you can just driving.
driving?
Driving, yeah.
Nice.
Good one.
That's a good one.
Therapy.
What'd you say?
Therapy.
Yeah?
Therapy, yeah.
Cool, we got a pretty good list going. So basically the point is to get all these on the board before we start talking, because it's kind of makes you feel like all of us have some maybe more positive ways already that we manage stress, and all of us maybe have some things that maybe not be the best choices to manage our stress, but it's kind of a journey, but it's just kind of cool to see other people's ideas and other people's experiences in their walks of life, and something like, oh, maybe I could try that, like maybe I could try to be outside more if I'm feeling kind of rough, or maybe I could go talk to a professional, go on a walk, eat my favorite food, because everyone thinks that just because I work in BroncoFit, I'm the calorie police. We're not about that at all. Like, I love that you have cookies here. Like, we're all about it, seriously. So, eat things that make you, when you're stressed out and you need to feel good and comfortable, eat something that makes you feel good and comfortable, right? So, I kind of want to do this other little quick thing on the board just to kind of talk about our life of stress, right? So if we start at age 0, and let's say we're all gonna live to be 100, let's just say it. And then here's like 25, 50, 75. So I think a lot of you, the students in the room, are kind of in this box right now. So let's say this is college. What main stressors are a part of college? Like, what is it about college that's stressful?
Workload.
Workload? Keep going.
Tests.
Mm-hmm.
Time management.
Yes.
Relationships.
Money? Yeah? Guessed it for you. What do you think is stressful to like a 1-year-old? I have a 1-year-old right now and she gets stressed, right? Maybe like big noise, loud noises, trying to walk, she's real stressed out, she's trying to walk. And so, right, and everyone's laughing, right? But when you were 1, that was so real to you, of like, that is my stressor, and I'm crying because I don't understand this, right? And so all that's done is just taken new form. And now, and then when you get to 50, you're gonna be like, oh, I was laughing when I was in college, and I was so stressed, but it was funny. But right now, it's real, and you're living it, and it's tough, right? What do you think the stressors are for people, let's say like 60 to 75? Health?
Money.
Yeah. Money's kind of constant, huh?
Retirement.
Yeah. Do I have enough money to retire?
Bickering kids.
Like, things like new electronic equipment.
Yeah, but that's so real to them, right?
It's iPhone.
Yeah. So this is just kind of to say the idea that people might be, like maybe your parents or other adults may say to you, like, oh, you're so young, like you're fine, and like, but there's really real things that are stressful at this time, and it's okay. to feel stressed. And so the point of that is to be like, I hear you, I get it, but let's work on some things of when those things kind of come into our life, our daily experiences, what can we do about it? I don't like to use slides in a stress management presentation because it's all kind of about like being in the moment, but I have a couple to cheat off of here. So this book, which I think is awesome, so 2 doctors at Duke University developed a mindfulness course for Duke students. And the results of this academic course have been crazy, so they wrote a book on how other universities can do similar things. And so they found in this book that students who take their class are experiencing a very certain group of stressors that really only college students face, right? So within this age of your life, within school, we have emerging adulthood, right? So you're trying to figure out who you are, right? It's this weird transition of you're not a kid anymore, you're becoming your own person, and that can be stressful. Just a lot of changes in your life. Maybe you moved away from the things you've always known. You have a feeling that anything is possible, which is awesome, but also kind of stressful, right? There's all the options. Sometimes I need a little bit more specific. So there are a certain group of stressors that really are kind of for this group of people. I won't do what they did, but one of the things that they did is breathing exercises, and we'll do one at the end, but with their group, and it was called the chicken breath, because basically you breathe like a chicken when you do that, and we won't do that, but they were like, there's no way these college students are going to buy this, they're going to laugh this off, this is dumb. And then they found in the stairwells of the Duke Library, students are doing the chicken breath to calm themselves down and get back to a good state of mind. So there is something to be said for these things that may seem silly. But what we're going to do, I'm going to pass out this worksheet. Does anyone need a pen? I have pens with me too. Cool. Okay, so we'll go through this together. We'll start on the front together, so we'll just leave it there. Sure. So this first question on here is what causes your stress? And I want to get to the very specifics about it. Because I think a lot of times when we get really stressed, we think of it, I kind of see it as it's this cloud above our head. It's just kind of there all the time. And sometimes it's not that bad, the sun's shining through, and sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's thundering. But that cloud is just always kind of there. So what I want to do is kind of break the pieces of that cloud apart and be like, what is it that's stressing me out? What's this exact thing that's doing it, and how can I respond to that a little bit better and help myself? So the examples of this are kind of vague, but I want you to be specific. So the examples, we have work, family, homework, life changes, money. For your ideas, throw in that box. If it's school, is it a certain class? Is it a certain professor? Is it a certain assignment? If it's family, is it a certain person? If it's money, is it debt? Is it student loans? So get specific for me. So go ahead and write down your ideas in that box.
You're just looking for one, or are you looking for more than one?
Just jot down whatever comes to mind. So you might just have one, you might have 10. Second box is how do you know you're stressed? So everybody stress kind of manifests itself differently in everybody. Is anybody maybe you're just kind of irritable, kind of a little bit more mean, and you have a lot of stress going on? Yeah, same here. What about, and there's some ideas on here like headaches, weight loss or gain, sleep difficulties, just pure exhaustion. I clenched my teeth, have for years, and now I have very expensive dental bills because of it. So that's a response to stress. So kind of think to me, what are some symptoms that you might get when you're stressed?
Can you get a worksheet?
Yes. Yeah. You need a pen too?
I got one.
You do? So we'll move on to the third box together. What time of day are you more likely to be stressed? It could be different on different days of the week, but maybe it's right before you go to bed at night and you're really thinking about everything you have to do the next day. Could be the middle of the night, which isn't ideal, but that happens, right? First thing when you wake up, middle of the day when you're just in the hustle and bustle of it all. So kind of think about, maybe it's the time of a certain class that really gets to you. So what times do you feel those things? So the last box here is how can you manage your stress? So think about when we started at the beginning, we kind of listed things, some more positive than others, of ways that we manage stress. So think about some positive ones, either that you already do or there's something that you might like to try. Awesome. So before we turn this on the back, what I want you to do is that first box that you wrote in where you listed out some stressors, I want you to pick one to work on, okay? And it might not be your biggest stressor because maybe that one there's not much you can do about it, right? But think about one that you're most ready to put some effort towards to really work on. So go ahead and pick that for me, and on the back, at the top, it's gonna say pick one stressor in your life and you're gonna write it down. Go through basically some different options of how to build your toolbox for this specific stressor, okay? So there's kind of the 3 A's that we go off of. So there's avoid, alter, and adapt. So first we're gonna go through avoid. So your stressor might not be avoidable, right? So I'm gonna use an example of, let's say an anatomy class, because a lot of health science majors have to take it. It's impossible, you know, it's tough, right? So, but you have to take it, right? If you want a degree, if you want that degree, you have to take it. So it's not really avoidable, but maybe there are certain stressors that are avoidable. So our examples here, if it's a person or a relationship, could you avoid that person or avoid spending so much time with that person, letting them take up so much of your headspace and so much of your energy? Avoid taking on more than you need to, so maybe your plate's just full, right? And you don't need to join 7 more clubs. Could you avoid a certain situation or avoid discussing a particular topic with certain people because you know that that's when things maybe heat up a little bit. So if your stressor is avoidable at all or certain aspects are avoidable, go ahead and jot any ideas down that you might have. If it's not avoidable, it's not avoidable, but some are. So we'll move on to alter. Sometimes you can alter the actual stressor, kind of change it around a little bit so that you don't have to experience it in that way. So if it's a person, could you talk to that person and ask them to change their behavior? And maybe it's not, a friend or a roommate. Maybe if it's a professor, could you go to their office hours and just simply have a conversation with them and express how you're feeling? Could you manage your time better? Could we be a little bit better about maybe creating study schedules or time spent with your friends versus time when you need to spend alone to kind of rejuvenate? Communicate your feelings in an open way. Could you change your environment? So like we talked about, maybe being outside, something that brings you joy instead of being in spaces that make the stress increase. So think about your stressor and then think about ways you could alter it. And I'll use the same example. So that anatomy class, could you go to review sessions? Could you go to office hours? Could you make a study schedule for 5 days out from the exam instead of cramming the night before? Try some new study techniques. So those are just some examples of altering. Another 30 seconds or so on this one. So people writing. Okay, so that third A is adapt, right? So alter, we were changing the stressor. Adapt is changing yourself and how you think or feel about the stressor, right? So I'm here to say that some things that I'm stressed about are valid and they are stressful, and then sometimes it's just me and how I overthink it or let it take too much of my energy, right? So sometimes it helps if you change a little bit too. So thinking about your stressor and ways you could adapt, right? Could you adapt your thinking? How much will this matter in a year? Looking at stress as a challenge or an opportunity to learn and grow. For actions, could you slow down? Could you talk to someone, either be it friend, parent, professional, whatever works for your situation? Maybe work on a hobby that can bring you more joy in those stressful times. Do something relaxing, exercise. So think about how you could adapt yourself a little bit in response to this stressor. Another 30 seconds on that one. So go ahead and kind of reflect on all the things you wrote down for this on the 3 different A's, and kind of really reflect on what you think would be the best plan for you for the next time that this stressor kind of presents itself in your life. So would you avoid, alter, adapt, or is it a combination of 2 or all 3? What do you think is going to work best for you in your situation? So that's that first question there. Which one of the above is right, and is it a combination of 2 or all 3? So go ahead and write down which A or A's you're going to plan on using. Then the second question is, what is your plan? I need to change the wording because I wanted to say a very specific plan for the next time this stressor enters your life. So go ahead and get really specific for me. So if it's a class, is it a study schedule? Is it talking to somebody? If it's a relationship that you're avoiding, how are you going to avoid it? So go ahead and get specific for me, and we'll bring you back in about a minute. Okay, so that's the conclusion of that little section. Does anybody, without sharing any details that you don't want to share, would anyone be willing to share what their plan is for their stressor, how they're going to respond to it?
schedule,
So what was it that was stressing you out? Time. And so do you feel like you just don't kind of like block things off how you should, or
put it all off until the last minute.
so procrastination? Okay. So is it tests that get you, or is it?
Pretty much everything.
Okay. So just kind of having a more specific schedule for each
It's
day you think
day-to-day
would be.
battle.
What'd you say?
It's a day-to-day battle.
Okay. Cool. But that could help, right?
Hopefully.
Planning out a little bit. I actually have a really cool scheduling. I don't want to give you another worksheet to do, but actually people find it really helpful. So if you want to do it. Anyone else want to share? Yeah.
Just working with the kids and trying to provide an avenue for learning with room for failure.
Oh.
Make sure they have some food in them first so they can hear what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's important, right?
And vitamin D. For me.
Some sunlight.
Yeah,
Yeah. This could get exhausting all day, right? No.
definitely.
What else?
My schedule gets weird, so, and my house is right at the four corners of fast food hell. And so it's easy to come home and just say, I just gonna grab a burger or something like that. And so the plan is more of keeping the refrigerator stocked with stuff that's easy. And the adapt is remembering that I'm in control.
Yeah.
That this is my thing that I can own, and I don't have to just go with what's easy.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes, and I think a good reminder is that like effort's a good thing, right? Effort's cool, and you're growing and like doing new things that you never used to do. So like when something's hard, like looking at it as like, this is good, because I'm getting better and I'm learning. Yeah, meal prepping's can be tough, but man, is it a game changer, right? Yeah. What else? Anyone else? No pressure. I just always like to hear.
I put mine out there, it's I
Sure.
had too many meetings. Just meeting. And so I had time management issues when I was younger, and now there's no time to manage because I don't have any free time to do it. You're always in a meeting, and it's really, it can be, it feels really disconcerting because you're constantly going to things you're supposed to be doing, things but you can't because you don't have time because you're in another meeting.
Yeah.
And so it's maybe a little different from what I used to experience,
Yeah.
but in some ways time management as well.
So how are you going to respond?
Just develop priorities. I mean, you have to say, you have to say no.
Mhm.
You say, I'd love to go to that meeting, or not.
Or could this
I would
meeting be
just
a
love to
meeting?
go to that meeting, but no, I can't
Yeah.
do it. So, setting up boundaries, I guess,
Yeah.
personal boundaries that, and even scheduling free time, I think, is something that I don't do well. And because my schedule just ends up just
Right.
populating.
Yeah.
If I had free time scheduled, then it would prevent that.
Yeah.
So
Putting
those
it
are-
on your calendar.
Yeah, just putting, this is just my time. And I even added in there a few things like, adding in, scheduling some walks and maybe some meditation environment, because I think that keeps you grounded. When you're moving from meeting to meeting to meeting, you have to constantly be switching your mind. And multitasking, for me at least, and probably other engineers, is I like to focus on one thing, and when I have to keep switching focus, it can be very challenging.
Yeah. Exhausting.
Yeah, exhausting.
Yeah.
Some people are good at that, multitasking, but I'm just not.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
Possibly some walking meetings.
Yeah, that'd be good, or standing meetings at least, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Getting some vitamin D while you knock something out, right? And I work with employees, I mostly work with employees now more directly, and we do a lot of like, if it's on your calendar, it's more real, right? So like scheduling your lunch break, even though you might usually take it anyway, but no, that's happening. Or this workout class that you really wanted to go to, but like you always have a meeting, you always have to put it off. Students and employees, right? Like if there's like this one active thing you're excited about, but it's like on the back burner, maybe just move it up 1 week and try it. So yeah, these are here. Or could this meeting be an email? Does it have to be a meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, thanks. So the last few minutes here, I wanted to try a couple. We're not going to breathe like a chicken, but we are going to do a breathing exercise. Two different ones. They're both very well received by other students that I've done them with. And sometimes people are like, this is weird, I don't want to do this, and that's fine. So you're more than welcome just to kind of sit quietly in your chair if you don't want to partake, so no pressure. And so a lot of times I think when we think of stress management, we think of like I have to take time to go do something to get my stress levels down, and that just takes more time, so that's stressful. So we're going to kind of talk about really simple things that you can do even when you're in class while you're stressed at the same time. So it's not feeling like I have to take this block of time to do it to something that makes me happy because I have to get back to the other stuff, you know? And so what we're going to do, go ahead, I'll invite you to just kind of get comfortable in your chair. If you want to like lean back a little, stretch your legs out, whatever feels good. And I'll invite you to, this one we're actually not going to close our eyes, we will for the second one. So this one is actually, I call it breathe around the room. So you can do this in any academic class that you're in. You could do it in the library, you could do it in your apartment, anywhere that really has a square, right? And so it's just a visual way to kind of help you be in the moment and more mindful. So I think when you say mindfulness to people, it's kind of intimidating because you're like, I see a head nod, right? You're like, what is that? Just be in the moment, right? But it really is just kind of whatever that means to you, of kind of being more grounded, focusing, and being in the moment. So what this is it's just a focus on your breath, and we're just going to do 2 minutes. I also think it's intimidating when people say, go meditate for, have a silent half hour. That's hard, right? So we're just going to do 2 minutes. And what's going to happen is I'm going to kind of be doing this along these 4 lines here of this rectangle. And so when I'm going up, you're going to be breathing in, okay? When I'm going to go across, you're just going to hold your breath. When I come down, you're going to breathe out. And when I go back across, you're going to hold it. And then you're going to breathe in again, across. And they're all going to be about 4 seconds. I'm going to have this so I have the timer. And so the first couple, I'm going to say in, hold, out, hold. And then after that, I'm just going to stand up here like this. So we're going to do 2 minutes of that. Everybody game to try that out? Okay. Let me pull this up. Are we ready? Go ahead and get comfortable. And we are going to breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Hold. I'll talk through one more time and then I'll just be silent. Breathe in. Hold. Out. Hold. Just 2 minutes. How you feel? Did it feel like forever? No? Okay, that's good. That's good. Do you feel that the energy in the room is a little bit calmer already? Just 2 minutes later. It's kind of crazy. It really is. And this room was already pretty calm. It's a Friday at noon. You're all kind of just, oh, it's nice. But when I'm in lecture halls with like 100 freshmen, just like, you know, talking and laughing, and then we do this, and they're all kind of like, oh, that was just 2 minutes, right? And so I think sometimes when we think of stress management, it's like, oh, I have to go on a vacation for 2 weeks, or I have to like go get a massage, which would be lovely, but how do we find the time and money to do all of those things? And so working little things like this into your day really does help mitigate things from kind of building and building and building. So our counseling director goes out and does these presentations, and I think people think that he's going to get really detailed into like the science of the brain and counseling, and really his 4 tips, or his biggest 2 tips, are sleep and breathe and eat. So, and that gets really hard when you're in some stressful times. So remember this, because I've had students tell me like, I can do this when I'm just at the library and take a second and breathe, come back to my work, or whatever that may be. So we'll try another one. And this one I will invite you to close your eyes if you'd like to. And don't worry about what's coming next, and I'm just going to talk you through it. Yeah.
Well, it just comes to mind that
Yeah.
sleeping, breathing, and eating are no big deal unless you're not getting.
Yeah. We do all those
It's kind of
things.
important.
Yeah. And when you think, like, I have a 1-year-old, and I like always like put this on her, and I'm like, that's her whole life. The sleeping, breathing, and eating. Like, she knows nothing. There's nothing else that's kind of making that hard. You know, she sleeps 12 hours a night. Wouldn't that be just grand? Yeah, I am lucky. Just started though. Yeah, she wasn't always sleeping this one. But as you grow and evolve and learn and things get tough, it's hard to do those things that we think are very simple. And that's what we're kind of here to help. So, all right, so let's get comfy. Close your eyes if you'd like. Lean back, whatever. You can put your head down if you want, whatever works. So go ahead and start off for me and just take a few deep breaths to yourself. Sometimes it's helpful to have something to focus on while you're deep breathing to kind of keep your mind in the moment. So maybe you count to 3 as you breathe in, count to 3 as you breathe out to kind of keep your brain focused. But if it wanders, that's okay too. Maybe you count to 3 on the way in and count to 5 on the way out, so your exhales are a little bit longer than your inhale. I'm just going to kind of talk, so go ahead and just keep your eyes closed if you'd like, and kind of keep breathing. I'm going to talk through something. When we think about where our body holds stress, it's different for everybody, but the mind and the body are very connected. So maybe when you're stressed, we talked about maybe you get headaches or stomach aches. So really the effects of stress in your brain really do manifest themselves in your body. Sometimes maybe your shoulders get really tight, neck, hips, people hold stress kind of in different parts of their body. And one part of our body that we all largely ignore are our eyes. So when you think about your eyes and how much reading they do, looking at screens all day long, whether it's for work or for fun, right? Either your phone or your computer screen, tablets, laptops, your eyes are tired. So sometimes it's just nice to have a moment to let them rest when they're not sleeping, right? Having some awake rest for your eyes. And so what we're going to do is a quick eye massage. And so what we're going to start with, and you can go ahead and open and look at me for a second. You're going to take your right hand and go on the top of your right eye socket. And you can do a tapping motion. Sometimes that feels good. Sometimes it's kind of like a knead or rock and roll type of motion, whatever feels good. And you can keep your eyes closed now if you want. Go ahead and be on the top of that right eye socket. And maybe you'll notice there's a spot that kind of hurts, or a little bit more tender than the other spots. The same hand, same eye, you're just going to move to the lower part of that eye socket. Switch hands, switch eyes. So left hand, left eye, go ahead and start on the top. You can do a tapping motion, you can kind of give yourself a more aggressive massage or just stay light, whatever feels good. Move to the lower part of the left eye. Job. Now you're going to take a thumb and an index finger and go on the bridge of your nose. You can look at me if you need to. Go ahead and bring your hands down to your lap. We're going to flutter, go ahead and flutter your eyes open a little bit, and we're going to move on to hands. You'll probably have to watch me a little bit with this. Let's just start stretching your wrists a little bit. Lots of typing, lots of texting, or, you know, I text a lot. It hurts after a while, right? Go ahead and flip it around. Anybody feel some tension in there? Yeah, your wrists get like, they do a lot. Go ahead and switch hands. Either, you can start either way, whatever way you want. So we'll just do a quick little hand one. So what you're gonna do is start kind of on the meaty part of your hand. Just kind of massage the bigger parts. Then maybe do each finger. If there's one spot that really hurts, maybe stay there for a minute. Switch hands. Do whatever feels good. Go ahead and close your eyes for me, and we're just gonna let's do 5 more deep breaths where you count to 3 on the way in and 5 on the way out. So go ahead and do that on your own. When you're done with those breaths, go ahead and flutter your eyes open. How are we feeling? Like you want to go take a nap? A little bit? You could do this at night though, when you really do need to fall asleep, right? That's helpful, right? What questions do you have for me? Anything? Could be about stress, or it could be just in general. BroncoFit, anything you need while I'm here.
Do you offer these classes for students in the rest
Yeah. So we have 10 students who work for us, and they do events all the time. And then we also have a instructor who does some mindfulness and yoga classes. There was one this morning. So really, our social media, which is Boise State Health Services, or I hate online, but everything, find out online, right? Or the BroncoFit website has all of our events that are coming up. So that's really nice. And then if you are just interested in this stuff and want an on-campus job for next year, you can come work for us if you want and do this fun stuff all the time. So thanks for having me. That's all I got. Thank you. Have a good weekend.